to phase out the native language and focused on one language. And then when the child picked up, that's when they like, okay, resumed the native language. So
Okay. So I'd like to ask one or two more questions. Now, we already touched upon, Africans in the diaspora, but I think for your case, Joy, there's apps and there's books these days. I've seen a lot of those things of Uganda on the internet and blah blah blah. Have you dived into that? Have you tried that?
actually, yes, there is a cartoon YouTube channel that I
Mm-hmm.
follow. They upload like 12-minute episodes of Luganda. So I try to show them those, but now they're also attached to their own characters. They may watch one episode and then just run away to their like the ones they
Other
use.
cartoons.
Yes, the ones speaking English and but yes, I've tried to use YouTube. There is a YouTube channel. But the apps no.
Wilson, what about you? Do you have something similar for Portuguese or any mother tongue from Mozambique?
No, because we are not even trying to teach her. It's a hard time for us to teach her Portuguese because she spent almost the whole day at nursery school and she speaks Japanese. So when she comes home, we try to speak Portuguese with her, but when she watch cartoons in English like Coco Melon. So which makes everything complicated. So her cartoons are in English. We try to speak Portuguese with her, and she spent 80% of her time speaking Japanese. So it's very complicated, and I think the delay thing that you experience, I think we're experienced on double, like the thing that Joyce said we are having that struggle. She's 2 years now, but yeah.
I see. Wow.
I really now start I'm starting to think it's a factor. Because I'm not the only parent here who
Yeah.
also said, my child, they had to phase out the native language and focused on one language. And then when the child picked up, that's when they like, okay, resumed the native language. So I don't know. And yet they say kids pick up on languages so fast. Like that is the principle. But
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't know why. Yeah.
Because as I
I
said,
think the
growing up,
starting point is the most difficult, but
mm,
when they start, no one can stop them.
Mm,
But again, I'm afraid to teach a very broken native language, so I have to master my native skills so I can teach my kids.
I see. All right, guys. So we've really spoken broadly about languages from the start, where we come from, and some of the nitty gritties and the importance of language as as especially people who left home and then it hits you like a ton of bricks. Why it's important to know your mother tongue, or why it's important to at least pass it on to the next generation. But now I'd like to ask you about accents, because accents are a part of language, and this is a little bit connected to the whole city-born people and all. All the languages that you can speak, are the accents very different? Have people made fun of you? You know, this accent thing is really something big sometimes, huh? So I'll start with Wilson. I see you're busting with something to say.
No, it's funny because I just met a guy who lived in Uganda for 2 years or else. Like he lives in Fukuoka. And when he was speaking to me, I couldn't believe that he's Japanese. Uh, because he speak English using Ugandan accent, like proper African accent and
Does it sound
Ugandan
like me?
accent. Yeah, he sounds exactly like you.
Wow.
And um I was shocked, like how can, but he's Japanese and he's speaking English, but he sounds like Morongi. So sometimes it's yeah, but it's the accent thing is a little bit hard, and it can bring us to a stereotypical line, especially for like us, like Latin people, because we don't speak English is not our mother tongue. You guys, English is your mother, it's like your official languages, but you have your local language influencing the way how you speak English. But in our case, it's different. It's like our, for example, Portuguese influencing the way how you speak
Your
English,
mother tongue.
which is completely different situation. Plus your mother tongue. So uh, I think for like someone from Brazil, Portugal, Spain, when they speak English, they have like certain accent, which is different from like people who have like English, like from the British Empire plus their local languages. So I think we share different struggles and different. Yeah, it's completely different. The struggle that I face like has like me, Bago, and other people who that not come from English background, I think is a bit different. Yeah.
Are there still like struggles of accents in Mozambique as a country when you talk about local languages
A
and
lot.
the influence
Yeah, a
from
lot
Portuguese?
because you come on, it's like we're speaking different languages, but we are all speaking Portuguese. People from the south part will have like certain accent influenced by their local languages, but if you, for example, people from the central part, they have like this strong accent,
Um,
and people from the north, because of Swahili and some Arab language and stuff, they they also have their struggle with accent, and sometimes people bully them or make fun of them because they sometimes uh, they have a tendency to change p for them is p, these kind
R
of
and
things.
L.
So yeah, so it's a bit, yeah, but we all have this everywhere, and it's challenging, but I think that's what make us diverse and
Yeah.
interesting people. Yeah.
As for Bagu, Bagu is a different case.
Oh, really? How so?
Hmm. When Bagu speaks Japanese, without you seeing him, Japanese
Yeah.
think he's Japanese. When he
Yeah.
speaks English, you think he's from LA. I don't
Yeah.
know about the French part
Let's
because
ask
at
Joy
least
about that. Does she speak American?
For sure, you need to ask Melis.
Uh, well,
people who speak to him, they're like, but you speak English, but you're from a French speaking country, but your English is not as heavily accented as someone
Yeah.
who would
Yes,
who's
definitely not. Yeah.
from a French speaking country.
well.
So for you,
There's
what is your take on this accent?
uh, okay. First, okay. I'll start with that. The um, we like French is our first of all, as Wilson mentioned, we have our local language. We have French. Then English. All speaking here in English, but English is not for us. English is not the official language. Me, for instance, as I mentioned earlier, I learned because I liked American movies. I liked American rap music. So I wanted to watch movies without titles. I wanted to listen to BBC. World news, for instance. And while learning English, I realized, oh, people speak English differently. Like I realized, oh, the British have their accent, Americans have their accent, Australians have their accent, Jamaicans have their accents, Nigerians have their accent. I was like, all of these people have accents. Yet, I to some extent, actually, I used to not understand certain people. I used to not understand Australians to this day. I still struggle. Sometimes British people they speak things, and I'm like, what did you really mean by that? But I found the American accent really easy to understand. I guess because I was exposed, even without understanding it, I used to already love the music. We all love the music. I don't know, you might be from a Portuguese speaking country, Spanish speaking country. You love R&B, 90s music and stuff. So I found it easier to understand. So I purposely decided to learn the American way, to learn like the American accent. So, and all the material I was using, all the most of the movies I was watching was, American material, American, related. So that's one thing. And what else? What else? I had an idea, but it's like it's right here, but it's not coming out. So anyway, like I was exposed to the American movies and stuff. So that's why I purposely I remember what I wanted to say. French and English. First of all, it's the same alphabet, right? Like A B C D and stuff. And for me, coming from a French-speaking background, it was just conversion. Like it was just like these words when they get very technical. The English and the French is the same. I believe it's the same thing with Portuguese and with Spanish. When it gets really technical, English and these languages is the same. So in my brain, it was just a conversion that I was doing. Like even the word conversion in French, it is conversion, conversion. So from coming from conversion to conversion, somehow in my brain, it went smoothly. And also, I already, like coming from a Fulani background, I already don't have, like, I don't speak French like French people speak it in France, because you guys might have noticed that when French speak English, it's like, oh, good morning, or my name is Emmanuel Macron. Like they have that accent, that French accent. I don't have that French accent because of mother tongue. So I am not like held back by French influence. Let's say to when I'm trying to speak English. Like the French does not really hinder my speaking. And Fulani also, as I said, I've like I speak Fulani, but it is not very, very local like the ones they speak in the village and stuff. So I guess I had a certain level of freedom. Like I've not really been held back by okay, this. It's always I can speak enough of this to move on, so I can add on top of that without really being held back by a certain core. That doesn't mean I don't have a core. I can connect with everyone, but like it doesn't really. The accents are not. I believe they're not affecting me heavily. Of course, there is. I can't exactly speak like those people, but it doesn't affect me heavily. That's why I can speak English like this. I can speak French the way I do, and also Fulani the way I do. Yeah, that's my take on accents.
Now, for you, Joy, I think it will be a different story because you're coming from Uganda. Now you're going to America, and in UG, we usually use British related sentences and expressions, and those who have the British accents have the British accents. But how did how did that translate when you went to the States?
Okay, so when I came in here, I would speak, and then these Americans would be like, "What did you say? Hi, hi."
I can
What's
imagine.
that?
I
And
can imagine.
that got to me so much. I was like, no, 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 no. I need to work on my English. I just don't want to be asked to repeat what I said over and over again. But people are different. Like I have Ugandans here, including my husband. Sometimes they're like, no, they just have to understand how I speak. But
I'm with those people. I'm with those
but
people.
no, the thing is, the more you stay here and you hear the accent over and over again, you find yourself saying tomato when you should be saying tomato. So somehow you have to get the accent. So for me, at the beginning, I was like, no, I'm purposefully changing my accent when I'm talking to an American, just that I don't want to say my words over and over again. But as I listen to them more and more, they also have their own accents. Like if I'm talking to like an African American friend, African American, yeah, there are times they can speak and I'm literally lost in their conversation. Like I'm like, what are you saying? Yeah, so I was saying, when I listen to them, the Americans more and more, I know there is an accent from Texas, there is an accent from New York, there is an accent from here in the kind of South where I'm at right now. And when the African Americans have their accent, that you literally get lost. And I mean, for so many reasons, their history, they will explain why they speak the way they speak. So for me, the accent I speak around my African community is kind of different when I'm in front of a class making a presentation or when I'm having a conversation with my advisor. It's totally different. Yeah. And for my children, of course, they don't have this African exposure. So all they know is the American. I don't hear that they have an accent because I actually think they literally just speak like me. But when they call people at home, they're like, oh my God, these kids sound so different. My ears are now deaf to that accent that they have. I don't know that they have it, but other people hear it. So my accent has changed, but of course, I want when I'm talking to my Liz Moronji, I have to speak the way
You have
I
to
would.
speak in a way that I understand, my friend.
But again, I don't think I can speak the normal Ugandan English ever again. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we see. We see you really cannot speak the way you used to speak, Joy. It's not going to happen.
Because they'll keep telling me, "What did you say?" I just don't like that. I've tried to, not like I'm giving them a hard time to understand me, but I mean, being who I am, like I'm black, I'm from Uganda, I'm already different. So I don't have to add another layer of difference, like giving people a hard time to hear what I'm saying. Yeah, that's my perspective.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
I think,
Every
yeah,
go
I
on.
think for French people, for also for us, probably going to France, for Guineans that are in France, I think they also face the same problem because we speak French back home, but in France they speak it with a different accent. So you guys are both speaking French, but when you speak it, you always ask like, "Can you please repeat again?" and stuff. So I guess you feel compelled, to try to conform, to adopt the accent that everyone has in order for you to make life easier for you because at the end of the day you're the minority here, and it is going to be really really hard for you if you're the only one that's different and everyone else is on the same wavelength. So that's why we see people that go just for a week and they come back with
Yeah.
accents like we're like, okay, so you've been to France or you've been to New York, LA, and now you have all of a sudden you have an accent. So I understand what Joyce is describing here.
I think we had a similar conversation on another episode with Fatu as to why, like, for example, our counterparts in Europe, America, and UK have different accents. Well, for us in Japan, your accent doesn't change much because, first of all, these people are not speaking English, and you don't even feel the pressure to twist your accent in anywhere
Don't
because
you?
if anything, you have to forget the English and try a bit to learn the Japanese. So perhaps also Wilson's Portuguese accent hasn't changed in any way because there's no pressure to
Yeah,
try and conform to any of these things. So briefly, Wilson and Bago, you guys have learned so many different languages apart from your mother tongues. What are the tips? Because for me, I really can't go giving tips of learning. Okay, I can because I'm learning a bit of Japanese, but So you guys have learned much more. What are the tips of learning a new language?
Hmm. Uh, okay, shall I go first? Okay, no problem. So, first of all, like most of our, I'll just give a little bit of background. Most of our local languages, like back home, are unwritten. As I said, I speak Fulani, then we have French, English, Japanese, then a little bit of Susu. Susu is a local language. We have other local languages. As I said, we have 24 ethnic groups, but most of these are unwritten languages. You don't write them. um, Nowadays, people are using, for instance, Arabic to write Fulani. Some people are using alphabet with some different letters, a little bit of changed letters to write Mandingo or Susu. But originally, the languages are not written. And all these ethnic groups, like they have an oral tradition. So this means that knowledge, culture is received and transmitted only like orally from one generation to another. So with regard to such a background, like as Guineans, we are trained to remember words through sound. And I think to a greater extent, all Africans were trained like, to learn through sound. We're not reading, going to school and learning ABCD and stuff. So from a like very young age, you are bombarded with words like from different languages. It was really interesting when Jason Wilson mentioned that kids are actually having problems like, in these. But I guess back home, like they are being bombarded, but they are being bombarded with the same content from everywhere. I think Maroon, you're muted. You're muted. So if so they are being bombarded, but there's no contradiction. So it is just the same thing at home, the same. Sometimes even at school, actually, they have to force us to speak French because hey, we don't speak French at school too. Like we even used to have like some kind of a symbol like made with horns, like cow horns and stuff. Like if you speak a word of like native language, they put it on you on your neck, and you have to walk all around the school so people know this guy has been speaking vernacular, so we had that, really interesting.
Let me cut
So,
you short.
okay.
Interestingly, in high school, in Namagunga, we had the speech tag.
I see.
It was really sort of
Ah,
like a naming and shaming thing.
yeah, you've been
But now
shamed.
when I look back, I'm like, that stuff is not right.
It's not right. It's definitely not right.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's really it's not because you are sending the message out there that you don't speak your native language. Your native language is not good. This is creating complexities of inferiority in people's minds. So yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, so like it's words, sounds. So gradually, like you learn to connect the sounds to actions, to objects, contexts, especially the context, because all these languages, as I mentioned, local languages, they have different vocabulary, different grammar. They are a whole entity in themselves. Like it is different. It's not like I was really amazed by the fact that Bantu languages share really like even in different countries share same words. For us, we're in the same country, but let me tell you, these languages, they are Mandingo and Fulani share nothing apart from like foreign words that we all call and stuff. But at their core, they are completely different. That's why, like like it's really diverse, and it's not because I understand one language I can connect. Maybe you can do that with other Fulanis in the neighboring countries, but you cannot do that like with other. So you have to be in the environment. You have to listen those words over and over again. So to understand. So as kids, that's easy. So you grow up listening to Susu, listening to Mandingo, and you learn naturally. Now, like until like you repeat them over and over until they become part of who you are. So you don't even think, you don't even use your brain when you start speaking those. I never really asked myself, how did I learn Fulani? How did I learn Susu? How do I sometimes understand Mandingo? I will not be able to explain this to you because it's just over and over and over again. Now I feel like the learning a language as an adult is when things become get tricky, because most people feel like they try to translate every word in, like, in their native language without trying to understand that word within the context of that language. So for a French speaking person or a Portuguese speaking person, they hear a word in English, you try to translate in, like, in Portuguese or in French real quick, and your brain, like, our brains are really good, but they are not computers. You have, like, like, you already overusing, your brain by trying to, you creating, like, too many tasks for your brain. So, like, I would say that, like, when you're learning a new language, it's better to remember sounds first, even without understanding their meaning. Even without understanding their meaning, then you try repeating these sounds, and eventually you associate them with context. This is especially true with Japanese, for instance. If you try to learn Japanese logically, like, like we have this alphabet, this grammar and stuff. First of all, Japanese has like more than 2,000 letters in its alphabet, come from Chinese that has its characters. So you cannot have the same strategy to learn. So it is better to understand, to hear, listen to people talk and be like, oh, okay. So in this situation, in this context, this is what they are calling, this is what they are calling this. And repeat it. Don't be shy, even if you make mistakes, because that's how kids, that's how they learn. Kids are not shy. Kids are shameless. They don't know what shame is, like, when it comes to this language thing. I don't have kids yet, but I believe maybe Joyce and Wilson will tell us, like, it's they truly, they are more outgoing than adults. Adults are the ones that, oh, if I speak it the wrong way, people are going to laugh at me and blah blah blah. So just, try to repeat the sounds and be very, quote unquote, shameless in this process. Like, when you're trying to learn, and eventually you try to put that word in, like, context. You associate, this is it, this is it, this is it. Because if you try to go with the logic stuff, like the grammar, orthograph, conjugation, blah blah, like French, will just drown. You'll drown, because you'll face so much, like, logic, so much, like, rules, and so many rules. You won't be able to see the end of it. So if I have any tip, is if you want to learn a language, expose yourself to, like, nowadays we have internet, we have YouTube, we have movies, videos, and just listen to the sounds. Listen, look at the movie, try to understand the movie, what is happening, try to understand the action, and connect the sounds you're hearing, like, to don't focus too much on the grammar, on the, you have your dictionary open every time, like, hearing, leave it, you can open from time to time, but focus on getting in flow, understanding that context, you know. So that's what I would say for people that are trying to learn languages as adults. For kids, I believe it's just, I guess, you know it's easier, maybe, but yeah, that's my advice. Hmm.
What about you, Wilson?
Um, yeah, I think if I can give a tip, is try to learn when you are younger, because it's easier. It's easier when you're younger to learn new things. And probably other tip can be, have someone to speak with, someone who can someone that you can talk to, because you just need one person to, yeah. In my case, to learn, for example, Shopee, was my grandmother. She was like living in the same house with me, with other people speaking different languages, but I had that single language to communicate with her. So, and I know many people who just, okay, they have, like, for example, a Russian mother, and her mother will speak with her only in Russian. So if you can have a friend who can speak that language, and it will be like the vehicle of communication with that person, I think it make it easier for you to learn a language. So if you don't have, even if you learn the language, especially for us coming, as my senpai was saying, like, we have oral tradition. So it's easy for us to learn a new language. For me, it's very easy, but only like the speaking part, not writing. Till today, I'm still struggling to write in a proper English because I try to write the way how I speak, which is completely broken English and stuff. But so it's a long process, and if you can find someone who you can like speak with in that language, I told you that I used to speak French, but now I cannot speak French anymore because I don't have someone who I can share with. So yeah, it's complicated.
See, thank you so much. Wilson, say hello to Yuki. All right, guys. So thank you so much for your time. Just we really talked a lot. We talked about accents. We talked about the languages. How when you realize this language thing is important, why we should encourage ourselves to see the importance in our African languages and not try to kill them off. You know, uh, now, we've come to the end of this. I'd just like you guys to say one final word, wrap it up in whichever way you would like. And at the end, please, you can say goodbye or thank you in all the languages you speak. Joy, I will be marking you because for you, I know properly.
Okay.
Can I do it quickly just to
Yes,
wrap up
please.
because it's
yeah.
noisy here now? Okay, I would like to say that again, it's important to go like back to our roots, try to speak like our mother languages or our local languages, or someone just decide what you call. But it's also important to try to balance, not making them a tool that can divide us. Let's use our language to connect us, not to divide us in tribal lines. So, and thank you, Murungi, for having me here. Muito obrigado, that is Portuguese. Kanimambo, that is Ronga. Nabonga, that is Tangana. Merci beaucoup, that is French. Muito obrigado is Portuguese. Muchas gracias is French. Arigatou gozaimasu is Japanese. So see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Wilson.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So, a final word. Well, I think regarding, I think I've learned a lot of things today, having this conversation about languages and especially about how to teach our kids or the problems like that we might face when teaching our kids. I think I've been enlightened in many things, and I still think that mother tongue really plays a crucial role in shaping our personality. And childhood is really an important stage in our lives, and I think finding a way to teach, like a little bit of course we probably cannot, and it's really teach them all of it, and it's really a difficult task, but finding a way to teach them our mother tongues is like will help them have some sort of connection with who we are, and with our culture. So I truly think that it's we should go the extra mile, to find ways to do that. That's my take. And yeah. So now regarding greetings in all the languages I can speak. Well, in Fulani,
It can be greetings, it can be saying thank you or
okay.
goodbye. I don't know, whichever word you find appropriate.
All right. In Fulani, our haray on jarama bui ko jenti don kon bon podcast émission hande e fe murungi Wilson, Joy, vraiment miɗo tori yo wonan fop yo ɓeydu gandal fop hoore haalaji men. Okay, that was Fulani. In French, well, merci beaucoup. Je remercie tout le monde, tous ceux qui nous écoutent. J'espère que vous avez appris pas mal de choses au cours de ce podcast et que sur les langues et que voilà, chacun aura pu en tirer quelques leçons qu'il pourra appliquer, qu'il ou elle pourra appliquer dans le cadre de l'éducation de ses enfants ou aura changé leur perspective, sa perspective par rapport aux langues. I was French, English, you guys already know English. So Japanese. じゃあ皆さん、ご清聴ありがとうございました。皆さんがこのね、ポッドキャストから何かを得たことを、何か勉強になったことがあるように、なんていうかな、お祈りします。お祈り申し上げます。はい。じゃあ、ありがとうございました。はい。以上です。Thank you. That was Spanish.
Saimas.
That was Japanese, not Spanish. Japanese. Sorry.
Over to you, Joy. Joy, don't feel
I'm so
intimidated.
envious.
We are more or less in the same
Yeah,
wave.
I'm really intimidated and very envious of you guys. I can't believe I failed to really master a third language. It's very sad and it's very embarrassing. But anyway, at the moment, why I really want to try as much as possible to teach my kids our native language. For me, especially where I am situated right now, I feel like their language or my language, having them speak that native language will give them some other form of identity and grounded from where they come from. Because as you know, in this country, I know you know the history of the people in this country. Some are really like they behave the way they behave, they react the way they react. Studies show that because they lack a sense of belonging, like they don't have okay, we don't really belong here, we don't belong in Africa, like they just somewhere in the middle.
Identity
So
crisis.
as much as exactly, that's the term. So my children need to know that we have a home in Africa, a home that is different, a home that speaks a different language, and a home that loves them. So I'm going to try as much as possible to pass on that identity to them, because I'm told even when, let's say, a police officer stops me and I start speaking my broken English, like they will think, oh, poor African just got here. So the situation is a bit different. Yeah, so anyway, it's that identity that I want to just pass on to my children. So I will try. Whether it takes me 5 years, 6 years, I will try as much as possible, such that when they become of age, when they are teenagers, they kind of have that sense of belonging. Okay, what can I say? Let me first say this in English, such that when my kids watch it at some point, they will know what I'm speaking, just in case they don't. So I want to just say, Liz, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to share my views as an African raising kids here and the challenges I'm facing. Yeah, webale nnyo kumpita okubeera wano, ndi musanyufu nnyo Liz, oli mukwano gwange, so every time bw'onkubira mba mpulira essanyu. Yeah, my children, Johan and Josie, bwe munandaba kweno video oba munaba muwezezza emyaka 10, 15, yes, njagala muyige olulimi lwammwe, mulina okufuna essanyu okwogera olulimi lwammwe gye muva, because muva mu Uganda, muli banna-Uganda. You may have all these other identities named Mulibana Uganda first. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I almost shed that tear there. You know, as Bago reminded us of of Nelson Mandela when you speak to, what was the saying again? When you speak to someone,
If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. You talk to him in his mother tongue, that goes to his heart.
so for me, I also understand Luganda, and that really went straight to my heart, because I understand the emotion behind it. So, guys, thank you so much for, coming and sharing your ideas. I am so happy that, I want people to know that we are all Africans, but do you see how different and similar we are? I mean, Wilson just said, when Joy said, Njakukuba, means I will spank you. It is the same in Wilson's mother tongue. Imagine the, that joy if we all try to understand each other. I watched, what was that movie again? Harnessing the Wind, the movie about the African who
That
eventually
yeah,
created sort of an
some kind of
irrigation,
windmill, a windmill.
yeah, to help with the drought. Let me
Yeah.
tell you that that is in one of the languages in Malawi. I watched that movie without subtitles. Like, I think 75% of the movie was in that local language, but I could understand. I was like, wait, this is broken renewal, and I perfectly understand it. So I think, as you've all mentioned, our languages as Africans can be a uniting factor. Yes, we know there are a few bloodlines over there, but it can be a uniting factor. And we need to work towards, encouraging us and the next generations to embrace who we are. So I couldn't have done this by myself. I mean, I couldn't have spoken for a francophone person. I couldn't have spoken for a Portuguese person. I couldn't have spoken for someone who also speaks Japanese. So, guys, thank you so much. And the other language, which other language do I speak? Yes, I'll end with my mother tongue. That is deeper. So for Luganda, ndi musanyufu nnyo mwebale okujja olwaleero kubeerako naffe ku eno puroguramu kansobe nti no n'abantu abalala banafunamu ekyokuyiga naddala mu bintu bino eby'ennimi zaffe ez'obutonde ez'obuwangwa neyanziza neyanzige. Which other one? I speak a bit of Japanese, but that one I will not go so deep. Minasan kyowa jikano totte arigatou gozaimasu. And my mother tongue, mwebale muno okwijja kiro kino, semererwe muno kanihire buli muntu wena akutulola bakutuhuliriza kiro kino. Alatungamu ekyokwega n'okumanya ngu endimi zaitu zinamu igufa kandi tulina kuzirwanirira atali itwe twenka baitu n'abaana baitu n'abaana b'abaana baitu nk'Abaafrika tulina kulwanirira ennimi zaitu. Mwebale muno. So guys, thank you so much.
Oh wow, you
Beautiful.
look completely different person when you speak your own language.
Right, because it's deep.
Yeah,
Like,
the faces, everything, Wow.
yeah, we're different people when we speak our default setting languages.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, guys.